Alright, so this is a another custom bike we put together, built up the other day, and it's a titanium Moots, and it's the Vamoots CR, and basically had a trick little selection of parts, doing a Chris King headset, and the rest of the components are all 11-speed mechanical Dura Ace. So anyways, we getting the headset, got the crown race pressed onto the fork, and prepping up the frame there for the headset cups. And it's always a nice touch to, you always want to make sure you got all the letters and labels and everything lined up nice and straight there, so you know when you're looking at it everything matches up and looks really clean. So basically pressing in the top cup there first, and then I'm following it up with the lower cup, make sure everything's lined up real nice. So basically just press it all together till it stops. This is the latest version of the Shimano Dura Ace English thread bottom bracket, and it comes with that little adapter tool there to get your standard sized bottom bracket tool on it. But anyways, you want to always, when you're dealing with titanium, using a little tie prep or like an anti-seize, which is kind of a bronze or copper colored lubricant that keeps the metals from galling up there, and you can definitely run into issues by running just some dry aluminum parts into a titanium frame for sure. Definitely get into some stripping issues. So anyway, I got the fork in and just kind of guesstimated where it was going to be, allowed the maximum length on the fork, but we cut that later because I had to fit it up and everything as well. So just putting the crank in, pretty straightforward as far as getting the crank in. And here we're just mocking up the derailleur, get some of the parts and pieces in place there before we start running our cables and everything. And this build was a little different. I didn't have quite all the parts. I think we didn't have tires, so basically built up the bike without, basically had everything minus tires. So wasn't able to ride it right after I got it built. But anyway, so setting the your brake shift lever height there, I usually just go off the bottom end of the handlebar and either have either just straight flush across, or maybe up to maybe 10 to 12 millimeters between the length of that plane and the bottom end of that brake lever there. So that usually sets it up pretty nice, usually where we typically like to set them up. But yeah, got all that together, and now I'm running the inner shift cables. And on the Dura Ace cables, they basically just, the cable enters in through the bottom there. You just have to roll the hood back pretty far, and it'll just come right up through the body there. Using a little bit of the Shimano, the cable grease there, that it works real nice with those. They're coated cables and Teflon lined housings and everything. So this bike it's nothing's, no internal cables, so it's pretty simple to put together and service and all that. A lot of the newer bikes are coming with internally routed cables, which aren't a huge deal, but they definitely add to the build process for sure. So we got the lining up, got all the cables ran, and as far as the front, and the newer style Shimano derailleurs with that longer, I guess you could say the generation with that longer arm, there's a couple little tricks there you can do. But the number one thing is you can take that set screw and just route that derailleur out pretty flush with the big ring before you hook it up, and then you'll let it off a little. That makes it a lot easier. But anyway, just getting our cassette on. This is, the skewer and everything's still in there, so I actually use the cassette lock ring tool that I made a while back. Might put a little link to that on it. But just getting the pieces put together, and as far as the rear derailleur, it's pretty easy to adjust it before you ever have the chain on. As far as your high-low limit screws, you just manually hold it up and get the pulleys in line with the biggest and the smallest pulley on either end there. It's a pretty easy way to do it. And once you tension your cable, it's pretty minimal at that point. You can usually just get away with maybe a couple fine-tuning of the barrel adjustments there. But got everything pretty well set up. Just, went ahead and shifted the front derailleur up to the big ring, and I'm just doing the standard method I always do. Put it around the two biggest big ring, big cog in the back, and then try to shoot for about 1 inch overlap. A lot of times I'll use the little quick connector link. In this one I just used the Shimano pin that came with the chain, so not too big a deal. You might put a little grease on that pin before you put it in if you're using the pin method there. Just use the tool to break off the excess. It's got the thing on the back there, but just doing a little fine tuning on the gears and pretty minimal. And let's move on to the brakes. Just install the brake calipers, and nothing real fancy here, just the center bolt on this style. A lot of the newer bikes are using a dual bolt mount system, which I may do a little thing on that here soon. Got a new Trek Amanda that it's got the newer double bolt system, which they're a little different setup procedure for sure, but they really work well. But, just getting all our cables out and grease those up. The inner wires just feed in through the front part. You got to squeeze the brake lever down. Once you have the brake lever squeezed in, you could see where the cable just slides right up through, and pretty easy process. The generation just before these, you had to take off a little screw and a little cover to get them in, and I guess they did away with that one because it seemed like it would be easy to lose those little screws and just kind of a hassle. So this newer, latest generation of Shimano stuff, it's super easy to get the cable started. But here I'm just cutting down the housings. You always want to make sure you don't get that little overhang of metal, and then take a pick or something sharp and open up that little Teflon sleeve. That makes it quite a bit easier to get your cables through there. So just putting the shorter back piece on there and get our cable cinched down and adjusted out. Pretty straightforward. Get the brake pads adjusted where they hit the rim nice and flat, and sometimes you want to toe them in just slightly where the leading edge hits a little before if they squeal. So getting all the same process with the front brake. And just make sure your pads are hitting squarely on the brake surface, not getting up into the tire or not down below, and they're nice and same direction as the rim, as far as they're nice and parallel, I guess, to the lengthwise of the rim as well. Here I'm just taping down the cables, a little electrical tape, just a couple. Usually I'll do it 2 spots, maybe an inch or so past the brake lever, and then maybe up, just a little before where you stop. And so get all that down. Now I'm just kind of doing a little fitting. Basically, I've got everything was pretty well in the ballpark with the stem length and everything, so it's just really a matter of getting the seat height set correctly, and then the fore and aft of the seat. So nothing too major there. It's nice. We've got some pretty nice fit systems that make it easy for the bike mechanic to transfer over a fit from an existing bike. And so one little part that wasn't in here, I had a little device that make sure I get the correct amount of drop, so it lets me know how many spacers we need to put in here. So as it sits right now is exactly where we need to cut it, so I went ahead and marked the fork there, and that's basically right where we cut it. So I went ahead and just, you know, had the brake adjusted and everything, so it's just a matter of bolting it back on when it's done. But went ahead and just pulled the fork out, got that cut and everything. Now we're just putting it back together, and really the bike's pretty well done at this point. It's just a matter of bolting our pieces there. This is a little compression plug. I had a viewer ask, you know, a while back how to mount the star nut into a steer tube, but most of your carbon forks, you know, other than Cervelo, they're a little different system, but they'll have, most carbon fork bikes have a little compression plug that you set into the fork itself, and as you tighten it, it expands and holds it in place. And then you just have your standard, you know, cap with the bolt that goes through for your, you know, your preload, that it tightens down up against the compression plug that's fixed inside the fork at this point. So you know, you want to just tighten that compression plug just to the point of you get all your play out of your headset, but you're not putting the monster pressure down on your bearings, just kind of that sweet spot where it rolls nice and smooth, but there's no play in the headset bearings. And really about all that's left on this is, you know, the customer was going to bring a set of tires on to mount up, so really the only thing left for me to do on it was to tape up the handlebars. So, you know, it's pretty simple. Just cut them off, tape them up, roll the hoods back, make sure there's no gaps and it looks nice. Sometimes the hoods, there's little divots that fit down into the body of the brake lever, so you always want to make sure those are all in place and everything's engaged so it doesn't feel lumpy or anything. And yeah, make sure you cut the tape off at the right angle. See a lot of rookie mistakes where they get cut going the wrong way, but yeah, that's pretty much it on this one. Put the plugs in and we're good to go. I like to document a lot of the little trick bikes we do like this, but that's it for this time. Thanks for watching.